Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Album Afterlife with your hosts, me, George, Jazz.
And me. Can I start again?
You can start again and go off. What's your name?
Okay. With me, Nahren.
So, what is the Album Afterlife? What are we doing?
George, I'm so glad you asked.
Right.
Well, we've been thinking about doing this for a very long time.
It has been in the works.
Yeah, it's been in the works for about a year, but basically we enjoy music, we enjoy talking about it, we enjoy listening to it, and for some reason we thought that other people would enjoy listening to our opinions.
Yeah, because we chat so much shit. We were like, you know what, it's fine. People are going to listen to what we have to say.
Yeah, people will enjoy this, is what we were thinking. So we were just like, yeah, let's just make a podcast. But then we put it off for about a year.
So the Album Afterlife is a monthly podcast available on all streaming platforms. That includes Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast from.
And obviously YouTube.
100%. Oh yeah, you can watch it on YouTube if you are feeling a bit down. If you like a bit of visual elements, you can watch it on YouTube. It will be there. Each month we take it in turn to pick an album. So I picked this month's album, and we will go through the whole album. Go for the whole month listening to the album, and then we'll have a little discussion at the end of it, a little podcast.
Yeah.
Should also point out, we are not like music critics. We don't work for Rolling Stones, Q Magazine. We're not about that life.
Yeah, like don't take our opinions seriously. Like, it's not the be all or end all.
Yeah.
Like, if we say something that you don't agree with, then
yeah, we're not.
Who are we? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, we're not going to be critiquing Mark Ronson for picking the D minor chord instead of the A major chord.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We're not going to be doing that because who are we to tell Mark Ronson what to do?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to see someone go, like, you know, scram at someone for picking the chord, you can have to another podcast. We're just going to be speaking about it from a audience perspective, because that's as far as we know it, and I feel like that's the best way we can come through with it, because art is subjective, and who are we to discuss what someone has picked? We are also available, if you like what you hear, on all social media platforms. Sorry, not all of them. We are available on TikTok and Instagram as well. It is at the Album Afterlife.
Yep.
And I feel like we should get into the groove of things.
Okay, well, George, since you picked this album, tell us what the album is.
Shall I go ahead?
And who it's by, and just a little bit of background on the album.
Okay, so we had the idea of this podcast a year ago. And I thought, what better way to begin than starting from an icon? And I was like, you know what? Who's an icon like in music? And I was like, I could do a bit of Queen. I could do a bit of Nicki Minaj here and there. And
She's an icon.
She was. And I was like, you know what? We're British, so we'll start off here in our roots homeland.
Queen is also British.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Let's think of someone who's an icon. And I thought, we got to go for this album because it's a classic, and I listened to it before we even had the idea of this podcast. And
me too.
And as we had to say, I was like, yeah, this is a really good album to begin with. So without further ado, I'm sure you guys already know who it is, but the album I have picked is Back to Black by Amy Winehouse.
Woo!
A truly, truly magnificent album. Yeah, album released 27th October 2006. It was Amy's second and unfortunately final album. She went out with a banger.
Yeah.
And had 5 singles on this album. So you got Rehab, You Know I'm No Good, Back to Black, Tears Right on Their Own, and Love is a Losing Game. It was certified platinum by the BPI. And it's the UK's second best-selling album of the 21st century.
Wow, what's the first?
Guess. Take a little
guess. Do I know this album?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Band out or single artist?
Single artist. Kind of the same genre, not really, but kind of like the same. It's
like soul.
Yeah, just like slow songs.
Adele.
Yeah, it was being by Adele.
We'll get into this, who took a lot of inspiration from Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, so fair enough, you know. It came out with like another expanded edition of the album. I think
after she passed away, I think they might have re-released
another one
with more tracks.
Yeah. It's a solid starting point.
Yeah, definitely.
It was also freezing up in there, should I just say?
Yeah. We came in and it was boiling. It was so hot.
You were like, crank up that AC.
I was like, crank it up. And now I'm kind of cold, but it's okay. We'll live.
So yeah, I feel like without further ado, let's just get into the nitty gritty. What did you find about the album actually? What
just like my like where?
Yeah. What did you see?
My initial impressions kind of thing. Well, like George was saying, I had listened to this album before. My sister actually brought the album when she passed away. Which, do you remember when she passed away, or were you too young? Because I remember like everything about when I found out.
I remember Michael Jackson passing away, but
I remember that too.
I don't remember Amy Winehouse passing away. Maybe because I was like, I don't really know who she was back then. I was sort of like,
it didn't really like hit you.
No, but I knew who Michael Jackson was, and I was like, that's a big like one.
Yeah. I remember Michael Jackson too. I remember Amy Winehouse. I was on holiday at the time with my dad in Malta, and we were
vacation.
Yeah, and it was the evening, and we were like just out chilling with like a few locals. Because like my dad, he used to live there, so he has a lot of friends there. So we were just chilling with some locals, and one of their kids, who was a little bit older than me, was like, "Oh, Amy Winehouse passed away. Did you hear?" And obviously, I was on holiday. Like we didn't have a TV where we were staying, so like, and obviously I was young, so I didn't have a phone. And I was like, I literally remember me being like, "No, she didn't." Like I felt like she was lying, not lying, but like I felt like it was just so unbelievable, even though obviously
it was well to be true.
Yeah, like obviously even though we knew as the public she had like a history of like substance abuse, I was still like, oh no, like that surely that's not true, but it was, and I was actually really upset. I remember. I mean, I didn't know like much about her album, only like the singles at that point, because I was only like, I don't know how old I was. What year did she pass away? 2011?
2011, yeah. 23rd July 2011?
Yeah, I was like 12, 13.
Yeah.
Crazy, yeah. Definitely.
Like when Michael Jackson passed away, I was like, oh, he was the old guy. Like, fair enough, okay.
He wasn't that old.
No, but
he was in his 50s, I think.
He made the rounds. Like, we all knew who it was. So when he passed away, I was like, okay, fine.
He had like quite a full discography, is what you were saying.
Yeah, he had his author, but I feel like Amy Winehouse has so much more to give.
Yeah, definitely. She even, like, when I was doing research for this podcast, there was also like talks about what she wanted her third album to be like. And I was just listening to it and I was like, this would be, like, she said that she wanted to make quite like a romantic album. Because this is obviously about breakup, and I was like, wow, like imagine hearing that, like, and she was talking about like new like music genres, like still keeping in line with her like 60s like soul music, but like with a little bit more reggae, I think, which you can hear reggae on this album too. But she was talking about how she wants to do like heavy reggae inspired like love songs, and I was like, wow, like imagine being able to hear that, and we'll just never be able to hear that.
Shall we get banging on the track?
No, well, your thoughts on the album. Do you have anything else to add? Like,
so 2015, 2016, I knew of the album, but I didn't really care for the album until I started getting more into like, artists and their artistry and what they do and what they don't do. And I think as I was sort of looking at music as a whole, I was like, oh wait, let's go back to Amy Winehouse, because she was like an icon. And there was like a few people at school who actually did listen to Amy Winehouse. And I was like, okay, I can see why.
Cool kids.
I know, right? I know. Go off on one. And I was like, let me like do a little dig on her and see what's going on. And I heard the album. I didn't really care much for the album. And then it was only up until recently where I rediscovered the album. Like, I'm like 2 years ago, before we even had this idea, 2-3 years ago, I was like, okay, let's just go back and see what she was doing, right? Because I listened
well, you mature, don't you, when you grow
100%.
up? Like,
so you know what good
you're listening
taste
to
is.
when you're like in that. I mean, obviously,
16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
It's crazy to what I'm listening to now.
It's
a lot.
Like, your palette expands, matures.
And you know what, like, you like, and even if you don't like it, you have like respect for it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is very, very important. And yeah, I listened to it about 2-3 years ago, and I was like, you know what, this album slaps a little bit. And I was researching more into her, because I listened to her Frank album before I listened to
I've not actually listened to Frank.
It's really, really, really good. It's quite lengthy. It's longer than this.
Yeah, I've seen the track list for it, but yeah.
It's quite a lot. But there's a song, I think it's In My Bed. Really good song. And I was like, this is a really good song.
That was a single.
What other songs has she released? And I was like, okay, Back to Back. Iconic. I've heard of Back to Back. I think there's also something about her voice as a whole that just makes everything sort of be like, oh.
Very sultry.
Yeah, it's sultry.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think even like the album artwork in itself as well, it's very, very like, it's back to back, so it's quite.
With the chalkboard.
Yeah, with chalkboard. It's very, very dark. It's very, very grim, you know. Look at the back. She's in a
classroom, assuming.
Yeah, and there's like a massive ass chalkboard behind her, and it's like been like wiped out. So
but her outfit's not quite dark,
which is actually I think that outfit definitely describes her personality. She's a very bubbly character.
Yeah, she was very real. She came across as very real, which I loved. I don't know. I think it's probably the Londoner in her. So.
Yeah. We're both Londoners, so it's like we could tell she just didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
as she should.
Yeah.
So let's go off starting from the first track. We're gonna do a little track by track.
We're just gonna like
go through each and every track, see how every track was.
Blah, blah. Oh, and just like this was co-produced by, not co-produced. Well, yeah, it was co-produced, but mostly produced by Mark Ronson.
Yeah, massive shout out to him.
But
you know,
also
I spoke to him recently. He said he's doing
great.
Yes, me personally with my 2 followers spoke to him.
But also, it wasn't just produced by Mark Ronson. Salaam Remi also has a few tracks on there. Very important. I was watching the Amy Winehouse documentary. Very, very, very influential. Yeah, he did a lot of hip hop. He was Nas's producer, which we'll get more into that when we get into the tracks. But yeah.
So let's start off. Track number 1 is Rehab.
Classic. Probably one of the first Amy songs I've ever heard, along with Valerie.
Yeah, I think Valerie was my number 1, and then Rehab was my number 2, and Back to Back was like somewhere around there as well.
Yeah.
But we knew of her. Now, go on, Rehab.
As I was doing research, obviously the lyrics are quite self-explanatory. It's about someone, Amy. People are worried about her and saying that she should go to rehab, and she doesn't think she should. She doesn't think she's got that much of an issue. She just thinks that it's a little blip, like she's heartbroken because her relationship ended. So once she gets over that, she'll get over her alcohol intake, and it's not an actual issue. And that, she doesn't want everyone to think that she's doing better if she's in rehab when she's not.
It's also quite like an autobiographical song.
Yeah, I mean the whole album.
She just speaks about like herself, and it's like quite like an upbeat kind of album for the upbeat kind of track for what she's talking about.
What she's saying, definitely.
Like, it's a lot. And I think that there was like a section where she was having like a conversation with her father, and he was like, "You might need to go to rehab. You might need to like do all this." And she was like, I think she was walking with Mark Ronson on the streets, and she was like to him, "Oh, my father told me to go to rehab." But I said, no. And he was like, "Oh yeah, write that shit down. That shit good."
Yeah. I don't think it was her. Well, I'm not sure if it was her dad, but from what I was doing for my research, she said herself, it was her management company were taking notice of her intake and said that they tried to, she says that she thought that they were just they were trying to be the good guys and step in and be like, you should go, but she said no.
There was also a point in her career where it was like, if you don't go and get help, then we simply just cannot like help you. I can't remember if it was for some performance or it was some either festival performance, but her management were like you need to like go and get like this whole thing checked out to make sure you're safe, because otherwise we can't let you do more than this.
Do it,
because it's just not good for like you.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they said it's not good for our reputation as well, because that's how they would go.
Yeah, because, you know, capitalism. So.
Yeah.
She went straight into touring when this album came out, like straight into promoting it, straight into touring. And the few shows that she did, because she had to cancel a lot of shows because of her abuse, alcohol and drug abuse, you could like see that she really wasn't doing well, like not only just like vocally and musically, like not performing to her best abilities, but like you can see that in herself. Like she would cry a lot, like shout a lot at the audience and things like that. She wasn't doing well.
She did a like show in like, I think it was Austria, somewhere around, on the Amy documentary, and it was like crowds were booing her off stage because she just flat out refused to sing. And it was like, it got to that stage where it was like, oh my God. And also the British press made it just so, I mean the British press is just notorious for making everything 10 times
British
worse
press
than it needs
is
to be.
so bad.
It's the worst. And they just obviously played a big fat role in like writing out who she was, and basically wrote the story out for herself.
Yeah.
Like I think just Amy in general, she was one of those artists where it was like the fame came with the talent. She wasn't out there to die hard, be famous. She wasn't there to be famous. She was just like, the fame just came with what she was doing, and
came with the job.
Yeah, it just got to her.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
She just like wanted to be like a normal person, and there was like she said, if I could take it all back, to just go down the street normally, I would do it. because it's just like one of those things where it's like it just comes along with the job.
Yeah.
What can you do? Yeah, I feel like Rehab is like a perfect opening to the album. And
I think I was listening to it on the way here, and I think it like sets the tone for the album
100%.
completely in terms of like musically, like you know what you're gonna get, like the like 60s like big band jazz soul thing she had going on, like that comes off the bat. You can tell it's gonna be a breakup album as well, because of like in the lyrics she's saying like I've lost my baby, like that's why I'm like this, and just like she has a lot of like nods to like Back to Black, like
she
already like she's already saying that. I think it's a perfect opener.
Yeah, it's like a good present start of the album, sonically and like lyrically, everything. You know what you're gonna expect when you listen to it. So I think it's a very, very good after the album. Very, very catchy as well.
You can tell which ones Mark Ronson's produced just because I feel like they're a lot more bigger. Obviously, he has more slow songs, but like with Salaam Remi, like you can like hear like it's a little bit more slower, a little bit more like reggae influenced. But like with Mark Ronson, you can see because it just feels big.
Yeah.
And which I love.
Yeah, and that's just who Mark Ronson is. Like for every song that has been built on Mark Ronson, you're just like, oh, this is definitely a Mark Ronson song.
Yeah,
with sort of every artist he like works with as well.
Yeah, it's like Timbaland, like in terms of producers, like you listen to a song and you're like, yeah, Timbaland produced this song.
100% Timbaland. Yeah. Well, speaking of singles, let's go down to her second single on this album. You Know I'm No Good, which has a good 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Once again, another like upbeat song. Definitely more sort of relaxed than Rehab. Rehab is more like, shake your ass out. You Know I'm Good. It's like, okay.
I don't think you're shaking your ass in the club to Rehab.
Well, I don't know.
Trying to make me good.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like, you could get going in a club.
Yeah. I do know what you mean.
But yeah, You Know I'm Good. It's about like she cheated on a man, and she knows what she was doing, and she has this up front of being like, I'm no good. Like I was no good for this. And I told you this several times, and this is like what has happened is because of this. And
I think it's kind of like for her saying that, like, I'm no good, it's trying to be like not placing the blame on him, but like absolving her a little bit of the responsibility, just saying like, what I'm like, what I'm about. Not saying that she was a serial cheater or anything.
No,
but like, like
she basically has a whole front which is like, I've told you this, you've gotten yourself attached, and like this is what I'm doing. But yeah, shifting the blame onto him. It's a very, very like environmental song. From the get-go line, we've set the location where we are, we know what's going on, we know the story. So even if
it plays out like a movie, like early 2000s movie.
Yeah, it's not like a linking song. That's what's so good about this album. No song is like a linking to another song. It all has its own separate thing. And I feel like with this album, she sets the tone really well for this song. She sets location, what we're doing, what we're getting ourselves into, and the whole message is all just sort of flown really, really like well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think like I can see it in my head, like when I said early 2000s movie, like that's what it, like I can play it out in my head kind of thing. And just the lyrics are great too, like for it being, because sometimes I think you find like songs that describe everything like that can, I don't know, it can not get too much, but just like, okay, like moving on. But I think this one doesn't do that, and also
she's
also, it also shows that like he kind of doesn't care as well. Like when he says like, when we're married because you're not bitter, when we're married because you're not bitter, there'll be none of him no more. So like he loves her a lot, he's willing to like marry her, forgive her, but like when we get married you can't sleep with him anymore. Just kind of, I don't know, shocking. I also
love the line of chips and pita just on its own. I absolutely love it so much. Because I listened and I was like, what is she even saying?
Chips
and I was
pita.
Like, oh, okay, fair enough. It's also quite like her, like she seems very aware of the situation that she's in as well, which she didn't when she was like she didn't need rehab to know what she's doing.
It's actually kind of heartbreaking. Like when you're listening to the lyrics, like I know she's the one doing the cheating, but like it kind of sounds like self-sabotage. It's really upsetting, actually.
And like a lot of lines, like I treated myself like I knew I would. She's just great. She's just great. Shall we get to the...
What's the next track? Do you have anything to say about the production about this track? No, not really.
It's a lot of like the album itself is sort of like a upbeat, slow beat. We're going chill now and we're gonna go upbeat again. It's very much like it changes quite a lot.
Well, yeah, keeps you up and down. In an interview she did about the album, she said that like because she released Frank in 2003, so this was like 3 years later when she released this, and she only wrote this in 5 months though, but she says in the interview that she had to have 3 years before releasing a new album because she needed to go through those like peaks and troughs. And I think you can see that through the musicality of it more so than the lyric. Well, also some of the lyrics, because some of the songs are quite funny. Like the next one is like a little respite, I think, from like the heartbreak. Yeah, me too. Is a little respite from like the heartache. Like it's more jokey.
Right, and speaking of the next track,
yeah,
I absolutely love this song. By the way, this
next
is my
track
favorite song.
Is
go
on. Me and Mr. Jones, produced by Salaam Remi, is a reggae-inspired track about. Well, when I was looking it up, she said herself in an interview that it was about someone that she was talking to. They were on and off for about 6 and 7 years. That sounds like a long time, but that's what she said.
Very long time.
Yeah, maybe I got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what she said. She said that they were really good friends and he worked at a record company or for a record company. And when she couldn't get into gigs, she would call him and be like, let's go. Can you get me into the gig? We should go. And then she called him about a Slick Rick gig that was happening. And he never got back to her. And she was upset about it. And that's what she wrote the song about.
I think it's one of also her favourite songs. I got told it was her favourite songs to sing because it's quite slow.
Yes.
It's quite like this is the fucking wrong word. Slapsticky. It's very like sleazy kind of like there's a lot she can do with her vocals in the song. And it's like she loved doing that on stage as well. So it was a very, very easy song to sing.
Yeah. When I was looking up, because I know that her, sorry, what?
Not easy song. Sorry, I said easy song to sing. She could do more with what she...
With it, yeah. I got you, don't worry.
Okay.
When I was looking more into it, like I knew that her and Nas, the rapper, were friends because they shared a producer and that's how they met each other. I knew that. And she did some ad-libs for some of his songs. But when I was looking more into it, this song is about him because they share a birthday and she references his birthday and his daughter's name as well in the song. His daughter's name is Destiny. And I don't know, it just made me like really enjoy that song even more because like I love hip hop. She loves hip hop. Nas is definitely someone that I think that we should be covering at some point.
We'll get into
but yeah, I don't know, it made me really happy that they had this relationship because I really like Nas. So yeah.
Me and Mr. Jones, also based off the very famous Billy Paul song, Me and Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
Which I've luckily gotten a face for right now. I kind of love it. I knew it before, like Me and Mr. Jones, but I feel like after the song I was like, oh, let me just listen to it.
Like go back and listen to it.
Yeah, and I've been obsessed with it right now. And it also has the line, what kind of fuckery is this? Which she wanted to actually call it fuckery, but they were like, no, you can't call it fuckery because who's going to be saying let's play fuckery out loud?
Yeah, they were worried about radio play.
Yeah, because...
But I like the title, Me and Mr. Jones.
I know, it's nice. It has a cute little ring to it and it like, you know...
It's really good. I really like the chilled out vibes, especially after... well, the one before was also kind of chilled out, but like Rehab was a really big opening, so I really like this song. And the production and the reggae feel that it has to it.
You can definitely tell it was produced by someone other than Mark Ronson because of how chill it is and because of how like none of a spectacle it is. It's just very, very oozy and chill.
Yeah.
Only 2 minutes and 33 seconds. So you expect a little bit more.
Short but sweet.
Short but sweet, yeah. Full song, Just Friends. 3 minutes and 13 seconds, this one. I don't know why I'm telling you the music. As we can just go and listen to it. I describe the song as quite an interludial track. It's quite of like a... We spoke about how all of Amy Winehouse's music can be singles, especially on this album. And this one too, but I feel like it's more of like the very, very, like, it's very, very coasty. I love like the horn hits. That's probably the wrong instrument, but it's like when it goes... I love that so much. I think it's it just sounds sonically, it sounds very, very, very nice. I love how like cool it is, and I love her voice with like the instrumentation as well, because you know she's got quite a high voice, and I feel like too much high in a song is sometimes not like the best, but I feel like she does a great balance of getting her voice and getting like the deep parts in the instrument, so everywhere works really well together.
Wow, really good, concise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this one also has like a more, it is also chilled out. We literally were saying, oh yeah, this album's so big, and it is, but like I think the first few tracks after Rehab are chilled out. This is also produced by Salaam, Remi. And yeah, the song itself, like the lyrics, yeah, it's basically her just saying like he's gone back to his ex, which he did in real life. And she's just saying like, I want to be with you, but it's painful, and I want to be friends, but I think that was probably also painful for her. But like, when do we have the opportunity to be that, instead of just being something more? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a very like truthful song, but all her songs are truthful, I guess you can describe it. Like like we said earlier, like she's not fake.
It's also like about like her, like she was very much of like, she would drink quite a lot. She didn't really use heavy drugs until it came to being with Blake.
Yeah.
And there's like one line in the song, and it's like, my thing works at night, but your thing works in the morning. So there is literally never ever time for us to just like be friends and like together when we're just constantly being like drugged up, when we're constantly consuming alcohol. So there's just never a time to just be friends. I also read somewhere that it was like about her and Salaam's relationship as well, like something to do with like them just trying to be friends, but I don't know how true that is. I'm gonna just deny that fact and just say, yeah, it's about her and Blake like just being consumed by drugs 24/7, and it having an effect on their relationship, and it actually ended up having an effect on their relationship. So
next one, title track,
the big one is here.
Back to Black. And this was actually named Time Magazine's best song of 2007.
Yeah.
And it's about, this is not verbatim, but I got this from an interview that Amy Winehouse did, and it was just, she said that it was about being in a relationship, and when it's finished, you go back to what you do, like what you knew before, like you go back to work, you go back, you know, talk to your friends, blah, blah, blah.
Can I just say, when you were saying about the song, it was ranked, the album itself was actually ranked 33rd best album of all time by
Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stones, yeah. Carry on.
But yeah, so when you're in a relationship, but when it's done, you like go back to what you know, like I was saying, you go back to work, you go back to your friends. But she wasn't working at the time, she said, so she couldn't throw herself into work. And the guy that she was seeing, Blake, went back to his ex, and she didn't have anything to go back to, so she went back to Black, like back to being sad. And she said that she had a few months where she was doing silly things, but that's what you do when you're young and in love, is what she said.
It's also like a great like next track from Just Friends, because like it's like they've gone back to being just friends, and now she's just gone back to Black now. Like she wants more of the relationship. It's sort of like a change from the last song where she wants it to be more, she wants the relationship to be more, but now that they're just friends, she's like, oh wait, like I'm now back to Black, because like I basically got nothing, and also,
kind of in disbelief that he could just like throw what they had away, like I think she needs to. There's a line where she talks about getting high in the first verse, and it's just like, do you mean like holding your head high, or do you mean like in pride, or is it like back to being high on drugs? So it's just like it's like, what do you? It's best of both worlds, not really. Yeah, this is also produced by Mark Ronson. Yes. It was the first song that they worked on together for the track. She apparently came to a studio and played him a lot of like 60s jukebox music, and then he got really inspired, and he came up with the piano, and she went in the back room when she had the piano and wrote it, and yeah, it's stayed very similar, I think, to the original lyrics.
I think a lot of like Amy Winehouse's songs she finds it troublesome to like find closure. And I feel like, especially when she's gone back to Black, it's like she doesn't know a way to get that proper closure without feeling like some sort of like sadness to it. Like like in the chorus where she's like, we only said goodbye. It's like, but that she doesn't feel closure from what you've just said. She like needs
more
than that.
Yeah, we only said goodbye with words, like, as in, I know I always interpreted that. I mean, it's not really an interpretation. I feel like it's just there. It's like what she's saying, but like she wanted like more, like maybe like say goodbye physically as well. Like if that's a kiss or if that's like more than that.
Also, she also says like we were speaking about the whole you love blow and I love puff, or I love blow, you love puff. That's physically said verbatim in the song. Also, clean version actually rocks. I love the clean version of the song.
Oh, I've not listened to the clean version.
It literally is nothing, but like when she goes, you love blow and I love puff, the blow is like a little like boing. It's really good.
Wait.
Why
did I've been like why did I just discover what that line means, even though it's pretty self-explanatory now that I'm thinking about it?
What, you love blow, I love puff?
Yeah, and it's like how she didn't get introduced to heavy drugs until she started dating Blake. He introduced her to cocaine and heroin. Well, I don't know if he introduced to cocaine, but definitely heroin. And it says here on Genius, he's a cocaine user, blow, and she loves weed. Puff.
She does, and you know what?
Wow.
She wrote it.
That's having a realization right now.
Honestly, have a little moment.
But yeah, this song is incredible. It's big. Which it needs to be. I really like the music video. I remember watching the music video when I was younger.
Yeah,
and
same.
I love it. Like I love the idea of like a funeral and like to witness the death of their love. I don't know. I really enjoy it. It's a really good song.
I actually think I might have like back in the day I might have watched some like music videos of hers and I was like, oh, it's her eyeliner and her hair that was iconic for me, but I didn't care for her until I got like older, as you said before.
But one of the best of this album, obviously, I think that's why it's the title track. It's just 100%. Really, really incredible.
With no like difference whatever. It's amazing song. Track number 6, Love is a Losing Game. Thoughts and prayers.
Love is a losing. It was a single? Last single. I think it was the last single.
I think it was like one of her last ones.
This is a song that because when I listened to the album, when I first listened to the full album, there was obviously songs you know and songs you don't know. And this is one that I knew, but like I wasn't completely familiar with. But yeah, I mean, why is she kind of right with the title? Like, especially recently, I'm kind of like, yeah, Love is a Losing Game.
I think she knew. She knew how to title her songs. She knew what like. I think every song just describes every song title describes what the song is literally like about, as it should. Some artists have this whole thing where it's like, I'm just gonna make like a song that's not gonna be connected. Like I'm gonna make a title just because the lyrics are in the song.
Who's a SZA? Did you say?
No. No. SZA had one where it was like, I don't like to use any of the things I like. I don't like to use the lyrics and just like put in my title track. What's the weekend? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I love you, SZA. We love you, SZA.
Yeah, no,
just that
I love
one
SZA.
thing.
Album of the year. I think she's gonna win it this year. Hopefully.
What, the SOS?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know. Taylor Swift is also probably going to be up there, but I don't think Midnight's deserves Album of the Year.
No, you don't.
I don't think it. As a Taylor Swift fan who's listened to her discography, I think it's a very weak point of her discography.
We'll put it on the side.
Okay.
That's a podcast for another time.
Okay, Love is a Losing Game. Love is a Losing Game.
Love is a game. She's like just looking back at the song Back to Black. She's just like, oh yeah, well now I'm back to black. Like love, I literally can't deal with love. It's just a losing game. Like we've been through all of this, and for what? We've just lost the game. So you're just looking back at the relationship, I guess. And like there are some lines where it's like 5 stories as you came, like a fire being like turn up 5 stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that meant like, you know, a fire, like, you know, rising up 5 blocks. It turns out it's like apparently like a sexual thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Oh. No, apparently it's like a sexual thing. I said, I'm here for that interpretation. I don't hate it. But I would have never guessed it. And she can do like, as like, me and Mr. Jones, she can do a lot of
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physically live on stage. Well, that she could have done with it. Bless her heart.
I think that she kind of slapped with this song in terms of, I think she's right about the title. I think Love is a Losing Game. Yeah. Lol.
It's
but yeah,
a chill song. It dies down a little bit, and then it lifts up actually. On Tears Dry on Their Own, 7th track, it lifts up quite a lot.
Which I love this track so much.
No, I think definitely like my top 3. This probably is like second on there. It's just so good.
It's so good. Produced by Salaam, Remi. I think it's quite hopeful as well. Like, this is a hopeful place in the album, especially after Love is a Losing Game. I think she's saying, like, I'm upset, I'm sad, but, like, and he walks away, he takes the day, but, you know, my tears dry on their own. I don't know, I'm kind of taking that as, like, I'm going to be okay, I feel like. Yeah, that's how I've interpreted it. Like, my tears are drying. I mean,
she says, like, she'll be some next man woman soon. Something like that. She's like, oh, I can't remember the line for it, but she was like, I'll be some next man's woman soon. And it's just like, well, now you know, if love is a losing game, your tears are going to dry on their own and you're going to go through this whole process again and again. So it's quite like a hopeful
I feel like we've completely misinterpreted this and this is like a really, really sad song or something. But like, I don't know. I feel like I find that it is quite hopeful.
Yeah, I feel like, obviously music is up to interpretation. Like it's what you think, what's going to like go down.
In the first verse, she's basically saying that like, oh, she doesn't, like, she knows that they're not going to last. So like, but she's made a mistake by getting attached, but she knows that they're not meant to be together. So like, I don't know, I guess that's kind of like comforting as well, like knowing what's happened. Like, you knew what was going to happen, but you still wanted to.
Yeah, you've played it out before it's like happened, but you know what to like expect when it's going to happen. Also should add that this apparently song has the same chord progression as Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh yes, oh yeah, I was going to say that. It interpolates.
There you go.
I can't pronounce the word. Ain't No Mountain High Enough. So like you can hear Ain't No Mountain High Enough in the background. And that's why the writers are also for Ain't No Mountain High Enough are credited on this song.
And apparently the lyrics got changed from like, and she says like, and in your grey in this cool shade. And she always changes it up to, and in your way in this blue shade. She would change it up sometimes. And it's just a more of like a metaphorical line, that one.
And just the way that chorus builds too. It's incredible.
Yeah.
A next track.
Go on.
Is Wake Up Alone. So what do you think? Wake Up Alone.
I think this whole album has been like a change of like, she's doing this, then she's doing that, and then she's doing this. And I feel like as the story has built onwards, I feel like now she's realised, oh, my tears are going to dry up on their own. But now I'm just waking up alone. I'm back to
rhymes.
Oh, wow. I didn't realise that. And now she's like back to her like overthinking cycle. She's like annoyed that she can't move on, and this whole song is just about like her overthinking, and obviously the drinks and the drugs just don't help with that. Like it's a lot of being like I don't want to deal with this in the night because I overthink in the night, so I'd much rather deal with this in the day. There was a line like that as well, and I can't remember the line what she said, but she just wants to deal with everything. She wants to get herself busy. She's not like thinking on her relationship because she's still very, very dependent on her like romantic interests.
Right.
And it's just about being like a functional alcoholic, like you're day by day. If you're busy during the day, you're not thinking about alcohol, gets to the night and you're thinking about it and you just want to drink over and over.
Yeah,
again.
I mean, yeah, like during the day you've got things to do, but like in the evening you have more time to just sit and like look back on things, like looking back on, you know, your relationship. And then that is what's causing the spiral and the alcohol consumption.
It's got a lot of like liquid imagery as well. Liquid imagery as well. So, you know, you've got like the moon spilling in, but she's spilling over him, which is crazy because I never actually realized that like when she said I'm spilling over him, it's like, oh, just some guy that like, you know, she's met, why not, blah, blah. But it actually is like the alcohol, like she like when she says it swims in my eyes, I'm just like, okay, metaphorically the guy's in her eyes, blah, blah, blah. But she's just like consuming herself in alcohol. And at the end of the day, she wakes up alone because the alcohol wasn't a guy. It was just the alcohol itself. So it sort of replaces maybe it replaces the highs that she got when she was with the guy with alcohol. And she wakes up alone because there's actually nobody there.
Deep.
We're getting deep up in this gaff, guys. We're getting deep. Ninth one, Summer on a Holy War. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm going to struggle with speaking.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can say. It's a nice song.
I was listening to this on the way here too. Yeah, it's not. There's not much I can say about this as well. It's about her boyfriend.
Yeah, it's just
her ex.
Like her battling like a war between like, her ex, going back to him.
She said,
drinking.
Apparently she said on Glastonbury that this was the first song she wrote about Blake, and she said, I didn't even know what it was about, and I still don't. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, no, I literally have that. Like, yeah, I was saying like that's why we don't know what to talk about because she just doesn't know what the song is about. I heard that she was apparently like looking at the Afghanistan war, and she was like, oh, like it was being called the Holy War, something like that, and she was very, very interested in that. But yeah, to this day, she had no idea what she was writing about. We have no idea what we're speaking about in this song, so it's just a win-win for us, isn't it?
I mean, this is definitely. I'm not again. Back to who are we to be like?
Yeah.
I don't like this song. But like, and I'm not saying that the song is amazing. I keep on saying amazing, but like it is. I'm not gonna try and downplay it. Who she was and what she made, but definitely not my highest point of the album. Is what I'm saying. No, do you know what I mean?
100%. Track number 10 is He Can Only Hold Her,
which is
the penultimate track.
And it interpolates Iceman's My Girl, She's a Fox, where Jimi Hendrix played the guitar. I listened to that as well after I found out. I feel like this song is basically like she's talking about herself, even though she's talking in third person. I think she's talking about herself and like she's talking about someone who's trying to like love this girl, but she's like so vacant or like not really there because in this case, I guess because she because of someone that she used to like she's still thinking about her ex kind of thing, like she's emotionally unavailable, so whatever he's trying to do is just not working. That's my interpretation of the song.
Yeah, it's very much like, I think it's very, very cool that she did this in like she speaks about herself in third person as well.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a change, as we've seen for the album, because everything is sort of autobiographical, and this is very, very biographical in a way as well. But it just changes the perspective. But I mean, this song, I wouldn't class it as like one of my top songs of this album. Not this one. I think it's a good song. It's a standalone song. It can definitely make its way up there for a single. I just think it's just not one of my ones up there. But I love
I mean, it's hard when you have an album like this where there's so many amazing songs.
Yeah, you've got
there's no way you can like rank them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
It's a good song, a standalone song, just not single material. Not that everything has to be. Just not.
Yeah, sometimes you want just like a deep cut, like only for the fans kind of thing.
Yeah, and I feel like even the third person of it, this all makes it very much like, oh yeah, it's cute. It is for you guys. This track's for you.
Okay. Last song on the album, which is my favorite song, one of my favorite songs of the album, actually.
Track number 11 is Addicted.
Yeah, which is my favorite. I think it's definitely a respite from the album. I think it again is more on the funnier side. And just talking about the track itself is talking about how her friend's boyfriend keeps on nicking her weed, so she's like,
gotta get the green man.
Just like
bring the green man here.
You're paying for the weed now because you've stolen it, and I think it's taken it, used it, and I think it's just a really funny way to end the album. Like a little
sounds very nice as well.
Yeah,
I love the way it sounds.
Yeah, like a respite, like you're saying, and. It's really good. It's
like the perfect roundup to the album itself.
Yeah, it kind of encapsulates
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I sort of had this idea where it was like, it sort of sandwiches the first song and the last song together. Because you've gone through rehab. You've gone through all of these emotions. And now you're back to being addicted. And it's just that whole cycle again. And what happens when you're addicted? You go back to a rehab. So that whole cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. And yeah, it just sandwiches the beginning of the album to the last
very
of the album.
Very good bookends.
Yeah, it's very, very, very nice. I do love it. It's just so nice. And yeah, I love the line, you got to call the green man, bring him in, because you're just nicking all my weed.
Yeah, it's
Bring it back. It's really nice. I do love it. Okay.
More than any dick did.
Oh yeah, that's really good wordplay. Amy Winehouse, well done for that. Really good wordplay on Addicted.
I mean, yeah.
Have you seen the trend where it's like, what is it? Addicted. What is this? Addicted. Why am I doing this? Addicted. What happened inside? Addicted.
No, I've not seen that trend. But yeah, that's it. We're gonna give us a our closing statements. No, like just what we think of the album as a whole. There was so many stuff else that I could have said about this album in terms of like the black culture, like that's been influenced
100%
from like soul to jazz to reggae. She was a hip hop fan too. Like she has said that she was heavily inspired by black culture, and like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Like, there was I saw there was not a study, but an article done by a professor, who basically called her a culture vulture, and like, we're obviously not black, so like we can't speak on that because it's not our culture to speak on. But I think Amy Winehouse, she wasn't like putting on a black scent. She wasn't like
and she wasn't doing, and she had like, she knew what, like she wasn't saying, oh, this is like my music, I'm doing this.
She gave credit, which is important.
100%.
I think it's like kind of similar with Eminem. I think that's why he's like one of the white rappers that's actually has respect and stuck around, because he like connected to the music because of his background. She connected to the music, to the soul music, because she felt like when she was going through something, like that's what she could, connect with. So she respects that era, and she always gives, when she's talking about her idols, she always names black women mostly. So
100%.
But yeah, go on.
I absolutely love the album artwork itself. It's dark. It describes the whole point of the album, what the lyrics are, what the vibe is. Everything. We're back to black. We're going straight to a bad place. I also love how every track in the album can be a standalone track itself, a single itself. Oh my god! And I just love how the album flows. It has like an up and down structure. It's a storyline, and it sandwiches everything in the last song. It just encapsulates the whole thing, and I love that so much.
Yeah, me too.
Very.
I have nothing else to say. No, Amy's a legend.
Honestly, I should be forever remembered. And
forever remembered with 2 albums.
Yeah,
that's so rare.
Which is crazy. Yeah. Let's hop on to the next album we're going to pick. I don't know this album, and Nahren has picked.
It's my pick this time. Next month.
I don't know what it's going to be. I can only expect. There are 3 artists it can be. It can either be Eminem.
I do love Eminem.
It can either be Queen. I feel like we would go off on that. Or why do I feel like you're going to go for like some Nicki kind of vibe? I don't know.
All very good guesses.
But you've said you're going to surprise me, and I'm so scared because it can literally be anything.
I'm going to surprise you.
It can be anything. Wait.
I have gone through like 4 albums that I wanted to pick, and they're all going to come at some point in the future. But this is a newer album, and I've been listening to it a lot recently.
Oh no! Oh my god! Wait! Oh no! Oh my god!
And I think it's very topical, and I think I really, really enjoy it, and I want George to listen to it.
Okay, carry on.
It's Guts by Olivia Rodrigo.
Okay. Oh my! I knew it. I fucking knew it.
You didn't until now.
No. Oh my god! It clocked as you were speaking. I was like, oh my god, why is this still going to be Olivia Rodrigo?
Yeah, it's Guts by Olivia Rodrigo.
I have not listened to it, but I've been meaning to.
Yes, I want you to listen to it. It's so good.
My thing for not listening to it was, every track is going to be amazing. They're all going to go off on TikTok. There's going to be so much trends. I'm eventually going to hear every single track. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Go on.
I was just going to outro us.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Go ahead.
So thank you for listening. If you took the time to listen to the whole thing, I really appreciate it. Feel free to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Yeah. It's at the Album Afterlife. And we'll see you next month if you decide to tune in to discuss Olivia Rodrigo's Guts.
Brilliant. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.